The map of Massachusetts real estate is redrawn in real time. Prices are still climbing, but the heat is migrating by the town, by the month, by the mile. Start with the statewide frame. In September 2023, closed sales climbed for both sides of the market, up 4.8% for single-family homes and up 6.4% for condos across Massachusetts. The statewide median for a single-family house reached $654,000, $500 in September 2025, a 4.7% year-over-year rise. Condo medians also pushed higher to $525,000, up 1% from September 2024. Beneath those price prints, the inventory picture split. Single-family homes narrowed by 4.2% year-over-year in September, while condo inventory expanded 5.1% versus September 2024. Even so, new supply showed up. New single-family listings rose 7.5% in September, and new condo listings jumped 13.3%, a meaningful injection as the market followed summer into fall. 1 month later, the cadence held. In October 2027, Massachusetts logged 3,921 single-family closings statewide, a 5.6% lift compared with October 2024. The median price for those single-family sales edged to $660,000, up 2.3% year-over-year. Condos cooled slightly on transaction count, with closed sales dipping 1.1% in October, even as condo values advanced. The statewide median for a condo reached $549,900 in October, up 2.8% versus a year prior. The message inside those October numbers: buyers are still writing checks, but they are choosy. Sellers are still stretching list prices, but not too far. Call it Goldilocks pricing. Price a home right and the market responds. Overprice and days accumulate. Signals from the western half of the state underscore this point. In September 2020-5, Springfield topped the nation's hottest housing market list for the 5th straight month, while Hartford ranked second. Demand in those hot metros produced a 4.2% increase in price growth that month. Springfield in particular captured more than 3 times the typical views per property compared with the national norm in September. That surge is happening alongside a nuanced transaction rhythm. In the Pioneer Valley, July 2025, single-family sales rose 8.6% compared with July 2024, but August 2025, sales fell 6.1% versus August 2024. Both months posted higher median prices, confirming that even as volume wobbled, value continued to grind upward. Zoom in to the first 3 quarters. Through September 2025, the median sales price for a Massachusetts single-family home was $640,000, up 3.3% from a 9-month median of $619,450 through September 2024. That statewide line smooths the peaks and valleys of local shifts, but it's the local shifts that tell the story. In MetroWest, 3 communities broke away from the pack. Ashland's median single-family price through September 2025 hit $766,000, a 17.2% jump from $653,438 a year earlier. That same Ashland median was $550,000 4 years ago, a 30.3% climb over that horizon. Framingham posted a median of $718,000 through September, up 8.7% from $660,500. Compared with 2021's $575,000, it's now nearly 25% higher. Natick reached a $980,000 median through September, a 7.1% rise from $915,000, and its neighbor Wayland registered $1,175,000 for the same stretch. The through line tying those towns together was access, commuter rail stops, highway links, and proximity to employers that anchor household paychecks. Now place that micro-story inside the wider map of values. Across the 12 months ending in September 2020, Mr. 5 typical home values rose in a raft of cities and towns. Norwell led the pack with a typical value of $1,207,653, up $53,660 in 1 year, an increase of 5.5% and $368,108 higher than 5 years ago, of $55.8. Egremont followed at $805,000, up $51,686 in a year, or 6.9%, and $341,259 over 5 years, a 73.6% surge in the Pittsfield Metro. Weston notched a typical value of $2,220,602 with a one-year gain of $48,044 or 2.2% and a 5-year climb of $832,165 or 59.9%, sitting atop the Boston-Cambridge-Newton Metro in price. Wenham's typical value reached $1,040,132 with a $46,683 or 4.7% one-year rise and a $383,462 or 58.4% 5-year move. Manchester posted $1,289,884, up $46,657 in a year, or 3.8%, and up $473,998 in 5 years, or 58.1%. Wellesley recorded $1,969,343, adding $42,206 in 12 months, or 2.2%, and $640,686 across 5 years, a 48.2% stride. The list didn't stop with the highest-tier enclaves. Gloucester's typical home hit $759,274, up $30,224 in 1 year for a 4.1% increase, and up $263,332 or 53.1% over 5 years in the Boston-Cambridge-Newton Metro. Boxford's typical value reached $1,477, up $33,000, $762 year over year, or 3.3%, and up $346,856, or 49.5% over 5 years. Newton measured $1,499,949 with a $34,506 or 2.4% one-year rise and a $417,534 or 38.6% 5-year lift. Concord hit $1,439,370, up $34,801 in a year, or 2.5%, and up $510,696, or 5 years over 5 years. Dover registered $1,746,599, a $35,329, or 2.1% increase in 12 months, and a $554,678, or 46.5% 5-year gain. Sherborne came in at $1,209,864, adding $35,985, or 3.1%, in a year, and $391,299, or 47.8%, in 5 years. Lincoln posted $1,518,768, up $30 to $6,647, or 2.5%, in 1 year, and $515,631, or 51.4% in 5 years. Each of those numbers traces a steady cadence, modest 1-year increases layered atop substantial 5-year shifts. Western Massachusetts carried its share of momentum too. Stockbridge's typical value reached $738,102, a $26,652, or 3.7% 1-year rise, and a $283,842, or 62.5% 5-year shift within the Pittsfield Metro. Monterey posted $729,616 with a $28,985 or 4.1% 1-year jump and a $248,486 or 51.6% 5-year increase. West Stockbridge rose to $670,106, up $20,213 in a year, or 3.1%, and up $278,533, or 72,001.2% in 5 years. Longmeadow's typical value reached $522,062, adding $20,563, or 4.1%, in 12 months, and $159,019, or 44.2%, across 5 years in the Springfield metro. Adams stood out for affordability and velocity. $263,580, up $20,736 in a year, or 8.5%, and up $105,680, or 66.9%, in 5 years, also in the Pittsfield region. Mount Washington stood at $621,035, rising $30,308 in 1 year, or 5.1%, and $241, or $42,000 in 5 years. Egremont's 6.9% gain, West Stockbridge's 71.2% 5-year rise, and Adams' 8.5% 1-year leap show that even small towns away from Boston's core are writing their own sequel to the pandemic-era boom. Along the North Shore and just inland, several communities extended that upward drift. Marblehead's typical value landed at $1,244,768, gaining $19,002 in 1 year, or 1.9%, and $305,605 in 5 years, or 42.5%. Danvers hit $721,646, up $17,993, or 2.6%, in 1 year, and up $202,139, or 38.9%, in 5. Topsfield crossed $961,242, up $19,580, or 2.1%, in the last year, and up $306,852, or 46.9%, across 5 years. Manchester's $1,284 1-year rise of $46,657 sits alongside Hamilton's $878,754, which added $22,767 in a year, or 2.7%, and $260,228 in 5 years, or 42.1%. Newbury landed $925,253, a $22,306, or 2.5%, 1-year move, and a $332,665, or 56.1%, gain over 5 years. West Newbury posted $942,399, up $19,854, or 2.2%, in a year, and $321,613, or 51.8%, in 5. Rowley came in at $787.48, adding $18,410.92 in 12 months, or 2.4%, and $249,194 in 5 years, or 46.3%. The coastline and the commuter belt remain expensive, but the year-over-year percentage changes there are smaller than in the interior, pointing to a maturing cycle in the most premium zips. South and southwest of Boston, the pattern held with local inflections. Marshfield's typical value rose to $774,194, up $19,792, or 2.6%, in a year, and $270,096, or 53.6%, across 5. Situate reached $976,398 with a $20,586, or 2.2%, 1-year increase, and a $337,741, or 52.9%, 5-year push. Pembroke hit $648,314, up $17,750, or 2.8%, in 1 year, and up $198,723, or 44.2%, in 5. Norwell's $1,027,653 a year climb of $53,660, the largest dollar change statewide, coexists with 5-year appreciation of $368,108, or 55.8%. West Bridgewater posted $585,266, up $19,315, or 3.4% in a year, and $173,344, or 42.1% in 5.5. Hanson hit $598,383, adding $17,658, or 3.0% in a year, and $181,075, or 43.4% in 5. Duxbury recorded $1,765, up $24,087, or 2.3% in 12 months, and $410,180, or 61.4% across 5 years. Cohasset stood at $1,390,509 with a $28,174, or 2.1% one-year bump, and a $487,260, or 53.9% 5-year climb. The South Shore is still escalating, but in measured steps. Northwest and west of Boston, the pattern becomes a hybrid: elevated prices, steady increases, and faster rises in select outposts. Winchester marked $1,514,768, a $19,899, or 1.3% one-year increase, and a $430,901, or 39.8% 5-year move. Lexington's typical value hit $1,561,212, with $26,790 added in a year, or 1.7%, and $485,894 in 5 years, or 45.2%. Needham reached $1,513,544, up $22,323, or 1.5% in 12 months, and up $486,630, or 47.4% across 5 years. Westwood recorded $1,211,197, up $23,479, or 2.0% in 1 year, and $400,772, or 49.5%, over 5.7. Weston's $220,602 underscores the ceiling, while Ashland's $667,142 typical value up $18,043 in 1 year, or 2.8%, and $209,748 across 5 years, or 45.9%, underscores the bridge between premium and accessible. Berlin clocked in at $655,085, adding $21,575 in a year, or 3.4%, and $198,666 in 5, or 43.5% in the Worcester Metro. Sutton reached $627,201, up $17,573, or 2.9% in a year, and $215,617, or 52.4% in 5. Grafton hit $600,841, increasing $17,482.5, or 3.0% in a year, and $190,75K, or 49.0% in 5K plus. Shift to the North urban mix. Lawrence posted a typical value of $500,341, a $17,738, or 3.7% one-year climb, and a $178,378, or 55.4% 5-year leap in the Boston-Cambridge-Newton Metro. Methuen registered $609,720, up $20,348, or 3.5% in a year, and $197,928, or 48.1% across 5.6. Andover reached $980,274 with a $22,976, or 2.4% one-year bump, and a $326,789, or 50.0% 5-year gain. Merrimack showed $653,640, adding $22,792, or 3.6%, in a year, and $208,414, or 46.8%, in 5. Row after row of mid-sized communities have been quietly ratcheting higher, even as the national baseline froze. Nationwide, the typical home value in September 2022 was $364,897, flat at 0.0% year over year. That contrast underscores how Massachusetts is still running hot, just not in a straight line. The Cape and the Islands add their own texture. Chilmark in the Vineyard Haven Metro carried a typical value of $2,322,845, up $17,690 in 1 year, or 0.8%, and $793,789 in 5 years, or 51.9%. Cohasset's $1,390,500 and Duxbury's $1,078,765 enrich the coastal profile further, while Scituate's $976,398 confirms a premium arc from Quincy through Plymouth. But pivot back to affordability, and the story tightens around places like East Hampton, where a $422,674 typical value rose $18,765, or 4.6%, in a year, and $128,882, or 43.9%, in 5 years within the Springfield Metro. Longmeadow's $522,062, and Adams' $263,580 signal that there remains a spectrum from sub-$300,000 up to multi-million-dollar pockets, all appreciating at their own speed. Why is this happening? 3 visible forces stand out in the numbers. First, supply is still thin for single-family homes statewide, with inventory 4.2% lower in September 2025 than September 2024. Second, new listings have improved, 7.5% more single-family listings and 13.3% more condo listings appeared in September, giving buyers more to consider and spreading demand across more addresses. Third, demand has rebalanced toward places offering either value or access. MetroWest towns with commuter rail stations and easy routes into Boston Ashland at $766,000. Framingham at $718,000, Natick at $980,000, experienced outsized 9-month gains of 17.2%, 8.7%, and 7.1% respectively through September. Springfield's top ranking for 5 consecutive months, plus 3 times the views per listing in September, shows how relative affordability and lifestyle options can pull buyers westward. Meanwhile, the national market's flat 0.0% year-over-year typical value in September suggests that higher financing costs have slowed broad growth, a break that, so far, hasn't stopped Massachusetts from advancing town by town. On the ground, that dynamic feels like this: a steady cadence of contracts in September and October, a nudge upward in medians to $654,500 in September and $660,000 in October for single-family homes, and a condo market where $525,000 in September and $549,000. $900 in October confirm buyer willingness to pay, but only up to a point. In Springfield and the Pioneer Valley, agents are seeing days on market stretch slightly, while prices keep rising, a combination that gives patient buyers a little more negotiating room without bending the trend. July's 8.6% year-over-year sales increase in single-family homes around Springfield, followed by August's 6.1% year-over-year decline in sales, are a reminder that monthly volumes can swing, even when medians continue to climb. In Boston's inner suburbs, steady one-year increases of 1.3% in Winchester, 1.7% in Lexington, and 1.5% in Needham, paired with 5-year gains of 39.8%, 45.2%, and 47.4%, signal mature, high-priced markets where buyers now prize precision over speed. Access and amenities remain pivotal. In Natick, a $980,000 median through September 2025, narrowed the gap with Wayland's $1,175,000, reflecting how newer, higher earners replace downsizing families selling after decades. In Framingham, prices up 8.7% to $718,000 ride alongside 2021's $575,000 baseline, nearly a 25% step up, powered by commuter rail and major employers. In Ashland, a $766,000 median, up from $653,438 a year earlier and up from $550,000 4 years earlier, translates civic investment in schools and community events into real dollars at the closing table. Signals suggest that the same access value equation is at work in towns like Berlin, where a $655,085 typical value was up $21,575 year over year, and in Sutton, where $627,201 rose $17,573 in the same period, both in the Worcester metro, both within commuting range. To understand the texture of this market, look at the dollar changes, not just percentages. Norwell's $53,660 one-year gain on a base of $1,207,653 is real money in seller equity. Weston's $48,044 change inside a $2,220,602 value is a modest percentage, but a large absolute number. Wellesley added $42,206, Lincoln $36,647, Sherborne $35,985, Dover $35,329, incremental dollars that reflect bidding discipline at the top of the market. Mid-tier towns moved in a narrower band. Gloucester up $30,224, Boxford up $33,762, Newton up $34,506, Concord up $34,801, and entry-level markets showed meaningful jumps. Adams up $20,736 to $263,580, East Hampton up $18,765 to $422,674. Longmeadow up $20,563 to $520, $62. The distribution reveals a market where the biggest absolute dollar gains cluster in already expensive towns, but the fastest percentage gains often show up where starting prices are lower. Meanwhile, condos are finding their footing. In September 2027, 5 condo closed sales were up 6.4% statewide, with a median of $525,000, up 1%. In October, despite a 1.1% dip in closed condo sales, the median climbed to $549,900, a 2.8% increase year over year. Combined with a 5.1% increase in condo inventory in September and a 13.3% jump in new condo listings, this segment is quietly broadening options for buyers priced out of single-family homes. Balanced pricing, the Goldilocks standard, brings shoppers back through the door. The numbers back it up. More listings in September, more closed sales in September, and firm medians into October. If you step back and scan 5-year movements, the structural shift is unmistakable. Weston's $832,165 increase over 5 years, Wellesley's $640,686 rise, and Scituate's $332,741 climb show wealth concentration at the high end. In parallel, entry markets transformed. Adams up $105,680 over 5 years, Longmeadow up $159,919, and East Hampton up $128,882. In the MetroWest corridor, Needham up $466,630 in 5 years, Lexington up $455,894, and Concord up $510,696 map a westward gradient of high base prices and steady appreciation. On the North Shore, Manchester up $473,998, and Wenham up $383,462, confirm that coastal locations still command a premium and still gain over time. In the Pittsfield Metro, West Stockbridge's $278,653 five-year rise and Egremont's $341,259 gain show that the Berkshires are fully part of the statewide narrative. There's a counterweight worth noting: the national market. In September 2025, the typical U.S. home value was $364,891, flat at 0.0% year over year. By contrast, Massachusetts held $654,000, $500 for single-family medians in September and $660,000 in October, with numerous towns posting one-year gains between 1.3% in Winchester and 8.5% in Adams. Increasing mortgage rates have slowed growth nationally, and signals suggest that financing costs are setting an upper bound on how far and how fast buyers will bid in Massachusetts as well. That shows up in places like Winchester at $1,500 and $14,768 with 1.3% one-year growth, or Newton at $1,499,949 with 2.4% still positive, but pacing lower than the early post-pandemic spikes. In hot pockets like Springfield, the mix is different. 5 consecutive months at the number one spot culminated in September 2025, with demand 3 times the national average for listing views. July's 8.6% year-over-year sales increase and August's 6.1% year-over-year dip, paired with rising medians both months, suggest a market where affordability draws eyeballs, but buyers are more methodical. Advice on the ground reflects that slow down, get educated, and avoid skipping steps in the process on the way to the most expensive purchase most people ever make. Sellers in that environment can push a little on list price, but the market quickly pushes back when a property stretches beyond its just right range. From Boston Harbor to the Berkshires, the numbers sketch a set of trade-offs. For a million-plus budget, Wellesley at $100,96969,343, Weston at $2,220,602, and Lincoln at $107,18,768 offer established schools and prestige. For a mid-six-figure target, Ashland at a $766,000 nine-month median, Framingham at $718,000, and Natick at $980,000 deliver, access, and amenities. For lower price points, Adams at $263,580, East Hampton at $422,674, and Longmeadow at $522,62 provide entry points with momentum. Along the coast, Gloucester at $759,274, Marblehead at $1,250, $76,800, and Situate at $976, $398 match lifestyle to value growth. Inside the Route 128 ring, Newton at $1,499,949, and Needham at $1,513,544 reflect steady, high base appreciation, while just beyond, Berlin at $655,080 and Sutton at $620 $7,000, $201 show rising options along the Worcester corridor. Even within a single metro, contrasts abound. In the Boston-Cambridge-Newton area, Weston's $2,220,000, $602 typical value grew $48,044 year over year, while Lawrence's $500,341 rose $17,738. Boxford's $1,047,997 added $33,762. Danvers' $721,646 added $17,993. Andover's $980,274 added $22,976. Methuen's $609,720 added $20,348. That spectrum is similar in the Springfield Metro, where Longmeadow's $522,062 rose $20,563, and East Hampton's $422,674 rose $18,765, while Springfield's demand metrics 3 times the typical listing views in September kept the region on the national radar. In the Pittsfield Metro, West Stockbridge's $670,106 was up, $20,213. Stockbridge's $738,102 was up $26,652, and Egremont's $805,000 was up $50,686. What does it mean for the next few months? The base case goes like this. As Massachusetts heads from November into December and then into the first quarter of 2026, modestly higher new listings, 7.5% for single-family and 13.3% for condos in September, should keep buyers engaged, especially at price points tuned to local incomes. With statewide single-family medians at $654,500 in September and $660,000 in October, and condo medians at $525,000 and $549,000. In those months, expect prices to hold firm with slight seasonal softness, then stabilize as spring approaches. Markets that rely on access: Ashland at a $766,000 9-month median, Framingham at $718,000, Natick at $980,000, are positioned to maintain steady one-year gains in the mid-single digits if supply keeps trickling in. Hotspots like Springfield, boosted by 3 times the views in September, and a 5-month streak at number 1, should see continued attention even as days on market lengthen slightly. 2 watch items deserve attention through March 2026. First, inventory. If single-family inventory slips more than the 4.2% year-over-year decline seen in September, competition could intensify again, especially in the $500K to $800K range in places like Berlin at $655,000, $85,000, Sutton at $627, $201, and Pembroke at $648,000, $314. If the trend flips and new listings continue to rise above September's 7.5% and 13.3% for single-family and condos, the market could see a healthier balance, reinforcing the Goldilocks dynamic and preventing sharp price spikes. Second, financing costs. With the national typical home value flat at $364,891 in September and mortgage costs cited as a brake on growth elsewhere, any shift in borrowing rates could loosen or tighten buyer budgets. If costs ease, town-level gains like Egremont's 6.9%, Adams' 8.5%, or Norwell's $50,000 to $3,660 one-year increase could broaden. If costs firm up, look for smaller one-year changes like Winchester's 1.3% or Dover's 2.1% to become the norm across more communities. The narrative is clear in the numbers. Massachusetts is not overheating, it is recalibrating. September 2025 delivered a 4.8% increase in single-family closed sales and a 6.4% jump in condo closings. October followed with 3,921 single-family sales, up 5.6% year-over-year. Median set at $654,500 in September and $660,000 in October for single-family homes, alongside $525,000 and $549,900 for condos, show upward pressure without blow-off tops. Town by town, typical values rose $53,660 in Norwell, $51,686 in Egremont, $48,044 in Weston, $42,206 in Wellesley, $30,224 in Gloucester, $20,736 in Adams, while 5-year moves remind us how far the market has come. $832,165 in Weston, $640,686 in Wellesley, $410,180 in Duxbury, $278,653 in West Stockbridge. Buyers still chase access, sellers still command premiums for location and condition. The Goldilocks zone, not the moonshot, is where the deals are done. If you're tracking this market for your next move, lock on to the actual numbers. September and October medians statewide, 9-month medians in Ashland at $766,000, Framingham at $718,000, and Natick at $980,000. Typical values in Norwell at $1,027,653, Weston at $2,000, $220,602, and Adams at $263,580, and Springfield's 5-month streak with 3 times listing views in September, and let them guide your timing, your price, and your expectations. If this helped you see the Massachusetts map more clearly, share it with someone planning a move before spring.